The government denying you life-saving services because of your personal politics. Now, I'm not just repeating the story out of Florida, where that one regional coordinator in Florida who put that list together supposedly and said, don't approach homes with Trump Vance or MAGA signs. They will be hostile or could be hostile. But now we know in Georgia, they told their team, basically someone got ahead of it.
2 states, by the way, now we know Florida and Georgia, that both are conservative leaning.
Right. The majority of the homes you're knocking on could have been actually Republican homes.
Yeah.
But they were what they were told though is, hey, before FEMA gets here, this was by a contractor that told them, a little tip off, before they get here, get those signs down because they won't knock on your door if they know you're a Trump supporter.
My staff made contact with a new whistleblower who provided a credible account that a FEMA contractor visited the home of an elderly disabled veteran's family around October 10th following Hurricane Helene. While there, the FEMA contractor recommended that the family remove Trump campaign materials and signs from both their house and their yard. He warned the family that his FEMA supervisors do not take kindly to Trump supporters and that they seem as domestic terrorists. The elderly homeowners were so frightened by this and afraid that they would not recover their loss that they removed all Trump materials and signs. Nevertheless, FEMA has not returned to their residence. This took place not in Florida, but in Georgia.
Again, this is a 5-year FEMA veteran who is revealing this bias at the disaster relief agency, calling it, quote, rotten to a core. Rotten to a core. These are folks who, if you decide to work for FEMA, one, it's you're someone who's interested in logistics, but number two, and maybe actually the bigger than number one, is that you want to be able to help people. I mean, you're there for emergency management. You want to help people be able to get back on their feet.
You'd assume
you want to make sure people get the right insurance information done. You want to make sure people are alive, like doing wellness checks. And the fact that they are picking and choosing Americans. Imagine if the story was flipped to, don't knock on the black people's house. Don't knock on the door of anybody who's got a Democrat sign in their house. Or don't walk on, if they don't speak English, skip over their yard. That's not what FEMA is supposed to do. It doesn't matter who you are or whose house that is.
Our workforce persevered through all of the challenges I've just described. And they also persevered through a difficult security environment generated by misinformation about FEMA's work spread through social media.
I don't even know what she's talking about. We have proof. They fired the regional person that was helping out there because it was real. Logan, that's not misinformation. That's not disinformation.
No,
that wasn't a conspiracy theory. You know what's worse now is we've got it in another state. Are they going to say, oh, well, that's also that's conspiracy theory? And at this point, it's fair to say now that if it happened in one part of Georgia, it happened in other parts of Georgia, and likely happened in other states wherever there was at least someone at some level who had a regional ability to put this kind of checklist together to give out to the teams who are going to go door to door. And it may be regional. It may be that they have a few states. It may be national. It could go all the way to the top. Washington, D.C. usually is involved in these types of efforts, especially when politics is in play.
Just like a lot of these things, when the facts come out, they were right all along. So we knew in Florida that this had happened, and now we know also in Georgia this happened. And when this happens now in multiple states, it starts to feel like a concerted effort and not just one rogue person who decided to take on, some sort of anti-conservative, anti-Christian, anti-Trump sort of statement. They decided that's not worthy of being saved.
How many people have been impacted by avoidance and de-escalation? Do you have a number for that just nationally, or is there a database for that?
I can tell you that for this particular incident at the direction of our employee, 20 homes were skipped.
This was a conspiracy theory that happened that quickly became almost confirmed. We saw this list come out, and there was a lot of conversation in FEMA saying, no, this is all fake, this is all disinformation. And much like all of this, it ends up becoming true. And as Jordan said, if this was signaling any sort of group, Democrat, Republican, any sort of minority, race, religion, creed, it would be horribly offensive. It would be the worst of the worst, really, in humanity, because you're saying, I'm going to skip helping someone who has no water, no power, because I don't like who they're voting for, of one of the two major parties, which, by the way, ended up winning all of the states that were mentioned that had this problem, and the majority of the country.
Yeah, it went from a conspiracy theory to a legal conspiracy, and we now need to go find all the conspirators to put on trial. Because this, I will tell you, folks, I don't say this about most things immediately. Like, when you're talking about a violation of your First Amendment rights, you fight that in court, and there are damages there, and it is horrendous, and people deserve to be fired. People deserve to go through retraining, and sometimes commissioners and heads of agencies need to, be fired as well. And have that spot on their record so people know this was someone who needs to got to carry it around for the rest of their life. This is a step further because people died. And there could have been someone in those 20 homes that could have passed away that maybe didn't have to pass away because they didn't get the supplies. Or
suffered.
They suffered longer because they couldn't get their child's access to baby formula or water, or if they needed any kind of medical machine, and they lost even the generators that back up with that because the power was out for so long. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know, and FEMA didn't know, and FEMA didn't care because they had, what did they call it? Avoid homes advertising Trump.
This has happened pretty much with every sort of topic that we bring up here at the ACLJ that we're able to address, which is we open the door and say, hey, if you had this happen to you, reach out to us. And, we expect maybe some people to respond, and maybe they have some half facts. They're not sure exactly. Maybe that's why. But then a lot of the times, it develops very quickly that this becomes a widespread issue, well, even beyond what we expected, well beyond maybe Georgia and Florida. Maybe there's more happening. Maybe there's documents that can be more uncovered, because we know that we've seen that, obviously, with this whistleblower and with what happened in Florida, where we saw the list of places that you should go and not go and what you should be looking for and not looking for.
Filled with the swamp. They said it's rotten to its core. So another unnamed FEMA employee said. The whistleblowers are coming out saying this is happening in other states. And I think we have to add now FEMA to the list of agencies that need to be thoroughly reviewed. People need to be fired. Some need to be prosecuted. Some need to be behind bars because, again, they abuse their authority, and that could have cost people not just their life, but also, as Logan said, it could be a lesser thing. It could be still severe bodily harm, severe physical damage, or even the a process to go through to get insurance documented correctly. FEMA does that as well. They document what has happened so you can provide it to your insurance company. Those are all, if they avoided providing you a service that you as an American deserve because you pay for with your taxes, and so do your neighbors, that is the worst of the worst kind of treatment of our fellow Americans by the federal government. It's a federal government no one has faith in. We even know that when President Trump comes into office, his biggest obstacle is not the American people, it's the actual bureaucracy.